As we get started, I just want to kind of ask how familiar are you guys with Hatch Detroit in the room? Little bit, everybody a little bit? Okay, cool. So that makes it a little easier for how we are going to do things. When we get, let's see, I'm going to first introduce two lovely ladies here, Christiane and Tahara, who are the big wigs at TechTown. I know they hate when I say that. But our head of the small business programs team, and then also the small business team, and they wanted to say a few words. So you guys want to come up? Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I will.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Christiane Malone. I am the program officer here at TechTown, as well as assistant vice president of economic development at Wayne State, because TechTown is Wayne State's. So all the programs are in my portfolio on the TechTown side, as well as our Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses on the state side, our fellowship program, and Hatch happens to be one of the initiatives underneath our programs that also is in our portfolio as well.
Thank you. My name is Tahara Saad. I'm the Senior Director of Small Business Services that roll up into all of our programming portfolio. Some of those include not only Hatch, but we have retail boot camp, we have Ask an Expert, we have strategy sessions, 3-1 strong coaching. We have the co-working space, but we have a whole bunch of stuff that if Hatch is not the right person for the right program, we have other things available to them.
And anyone who applies for Hatch is always available to access any of our programs, whether it's like Tahara said, our Ask an Expert, we have Plus, we have our strategy sessions, what was going on. And so just know that you're not, this is just one piece of the big puzzle, and five.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to introduce, I should have had this slide up, my bad. So, and I'm going to hide this. Whoops, and I'm not going to do that. This is really annoying me. Where did my thing go? Where did my presentation go? Where are you? How did that happen? Thank you. I don't know how I would have done that. I know he really is a cute dog. I mean, no, it's not there. It's so weird. None of those down there. No. That is so weird. Is it on? You didn't put on another desktop, did you? No. Well, that is so weird. Wild. No. I mean, that is crazy. Sorry, guys. Wow. I did stop. Yeah. So crazy. How do I get rid of that though, so I don't have to see it? That's what I was trying to do. And then, oh my God. Are you in technology today? Why? This is why it stopped on me. Teams needs an update. You've got to be kidding.
Here, you want me to open mine?
Yes. Come on, Teams, be on my side, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. It's Mercury retrograde if you didn't know. So that means anything with technology could go wrong.
It's just so crazy. Like today, right now, you're telling me I need an update.
It's Mercury retrograde. That's why.
Well, while that's happening, I'll introduce myself. You don't have to see the picture because you see the real thing. I am Victoria Katanski. I was the original executive director of Hatch Detroit from 2012 to 2022. In 2022, I brought the programming over to TechTown. And I was acting more as a consultant with them for several years before coming on, since 2022, full-time to work with alumni of the program. So even though I'm not doing as much with the contest as I have done in the past, I am still involved in it, but I created the framework for the contest. And so I kind of am the one that knows how to talk about it probably the most fluently and answer any questions you guys may have. So that said, the reason I did move it over to Techtown was one, we were partners for a very long time in many things. We had a lot of our events here. Christy and I have worked together for 100 years. And
We're still babies though, we're only 20, you know.
and I brought it over actually before Christiane was even here. So it was just a lucky joy to have her come to Techtown and be working on it with me and be leading the cause on the contest side, which I'm really happy about. So for those of you who don't know, giving you a little background, Hatch Detroit is echoing.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Okay.
You keep going.
Well, I want my screen.
Oh. Sure.
Well, Hatch Detroit started in 2011. So one contest happened before I was part of it. It was meant to be a one and done kind of thing. And the origin story, I think, is still important to the reason why we still do it. Back in 2011, Detroit was a little bit of a different place. There were no Motor City Match programs. There were very few small business programs. There was Build Detroit, which you were at that time. And Techtown was just getting into the small business world. So my started Hatch when he came back to Detroit from being in Chicago. And when he was in Chicago, he could walk anywhere, go to a Build Day, get food, you know, have a restaurant. And it just wasn't that atmosphere in the city of Detroit. And so he was a pretty successful attorney and he wanted to do something to kind of give back to the community. So he came up with this idea of doing a small business contest in which the winner would get a $50,000 prize. And they launched it from a porch. It was the most ridiculous video ever. He's like having a beer and he's like talking about how he's going to get $50,000 and his wife saw it and she's like, where are you getting that money? And he was like, oh my God, you know, so kind of freaking out. Well, he is a really good speaker and he was able to secure funding pretty quickly from Comerica Bank, who's been our sponsor since that time. And as you know, now the prize money is $100,000. I went to Comerica Bank back in 2017 and asked, you know, said the cost to get into those with the small business has gone up. So we need to stay, you know, along with that. And really $100,000 is what the $50,000 used to be in 2011. And they were wonderful and actually did kind of come through for us and do that. So I skipped over the, how do I go back on your stupid thing? Sorry. Oh, I have a Mac. So what I do want to say is a little bit about Techtown. I know that Christiane and Tahara mentioned a few things, but Techtown during that time has become an entrepreneurial hub. So yes, there wasn't a lot going on back there, but the need was definitely shown. And, you know, Detroit's kind of become known as being one of the strongest entrepreneurial support systems around. And Techtown is a huge part of that world. So since 2007, they've helped about over 5,000 businesses to open or to work and to get their business plans doing and going through different programmings and different touch points and all that kind of stuff. And that's a huge number. That's like incredibly impressive. The team, small businesses team here is really well versed in a lot of things. And I know that they mentioned, you know, if this isn't right for you, Hatch isn't right. There are so many options and so many people that have, you know, really good experience in merchandising and packaging and food and beverage and all kinds of things. So, you know, definitely, even if you're doing this, look at our website and see the other stuff that, that we have going on. I talked a little bit about what Hatch Detroit, why it started. The thing I wanted to emphasize is he really wanted to make an impact with economic development and really use a small business to attach more interest in a community and bring more to that area. In 2012, it was wildly successful in 2011. So in 2012, they put out a job request for a person to be an executive director. At that time, I was working with small businesses in Southwest Detroit. And I had been there for about 8 years and was kind of looking for a move. And it was a pretty big gamble to just like leave a nonprofit that had 56 years of, proven work with small business to go to one that only had 9 months under their belt. But from there, we built it up, and I really wanted to focus on not just the 10 businesses that, not just the one business that wins, which is what they did the year before, but really on the 10 businesses and make them viable and able to open. So the thought process is that if anyone gets in the top 10, you should be able to you could win. You're ready to open, you know what I mean? So to get to that place, we have to be ready for the business to be a winner. So since 2011, we've helped to open over 56 businesses in Hamtramck. We still have one that we haven't had anybody go in Highland Park yet. One is going to be opening in Highland Park in the next couple years, which is our first one. And the majority of that is because Motor City Match doesn't offer to people outside of the city limits. And I think people really want to be in that area. So as you can see that we have 5 additional businesses opening up in 2025. Our alumni have put in considerable amount of money into their businesses, and $4 million for small business is no, thing. We hear all these large numbers about, the train stations. They won't even tell you how much they put into it. But, small business we view as the lifeblood of community, and that's their money. It's impressive. We had launched a program in 2013 that was called the Neighborhood I called it the Neighborhood Project, the Neighborhood Program, really, really creative name. And, but we did put about $150,000 in each of 4 different communities, working on things like beautification for lighting, new sidewalks, all the things the city wasn't doing at that time to make it safe and comfortable for people in the community. So and it's kind of crazy. I give you this background because I think it's important to note how much farther we've gotten and how much there's more to offer. But when Detroit Vegan Soul went into the space in West Village, there were no lights at all. There's no pedestrian. The sidewalks were all cracked and uneven. None of the gas lamps worked. There was no nothing was in the back to park that you felt safe. It was dark as heck. And our program put in all new sidewalks, did a mural project, got all the signs for all the businesses, got all the streetlights repaired and up and running, and then also did all of the back lighting for the community so that parked cars could actually park not in the dark. And now the city does that for us. So it's kind of nice. And just through Hatch Detroit's work, over 10,000 hours of direct mentoring has happened. So that should give you an idea, if you make it to the next level, how much of a hand you have open to you to help out. And I did say Hatch businesses, we've given over 4 million in money to our businesses over the years, but the businesses themselves, I misspoke, have done more than $20 million of work. We did talk about this already, but we do have a commitment to neighborhood development. So if you're a small business, that's something you're going to hear a theme on this as we go through things. That's something that we're looking for. We're not just looking to, this is not the program that just wants to get a business open. It's a program that wants to have benefit to the residents in the community in which they open. So that's a big component of this. We're looking for an amenity to the residents of the city of Detroit. So as we go, okay, the Comerica Hatch Detroit contest by TechTown. As I mentioned, Comerica has been the financial sponsor of the contest for many, many years. People ask, well, I always get that question, why do you get them for so many years? I've never known somebody to do this for as long as they have. And it's really because they love the program. It gives them an opportunity to hit some of the buttons on what their charitable giving requirements are without, they can't, oftentimes it's kind of odd. They don't necessarily are the funder. They're not the funder for this small of a business. They're the funder for the next level of the business. So this gives them an opportunity to hit your level of business and get a word out in what they do. But usually the level of business that is what we're looking for Hatch works more with a non-traditional bank or a CDFI to get their funding, because there's a little bit more risk in that work. And Comerica really likes to work with less risk. So this gives them an opportunity to hit some of their goals. So as I mentioned, every year we introduce 10 businesses to the public. There's a whole process that happens when we do that. We'll go over in a little bit. But once you're announced to the public, then that means, you're an alumni. But it also means that if you are announced to the public, you cannot apply for that same business in the next year. So save yourself the headache of doing the application again. If you were an alumni, you cannot do it again because you get too much recognition and it would be unfair to the people in your cohort for that year. Benefits of being an alumni is not only having fun with us, but it's access to capital. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I know the players involved in how to introduce you to them, how to make sure that you're ready to be introduced to certain people. I open the doors for you. We make sure you go take advantage of all the programming that's available here at Tech Town, as well as other areas in the city that support small businesses. You get a ton of exposure. So you're really able to, we have over 100,000 votes every time with every voting section of the event. So there's a ton of exposure with that. But the favorite thing I have is a proof of concept, because a lot of times, opening a business is difficult. The contest is difficult. They're not going to lie. It's a lot of work. People are like, oh my God, what is happening? You have to be on top of, if you're selected, you've got to really kind of push for those votes, but it also makes you get out there and really talk about what you want to do. I've had people that have gone through the contest, they're like, I do not want to open a small business now. It's too much work. And they didn't spend any money on it. So that's like kind of awesome, because it'd be terrible if you were to go through it, open a business and be like, oh my God, nobody likes this. They actually get to hear people's reactions to their things and see what they like, don't like, and that's really helpful. We do one-on-one business coaching. So once you're through, I sit with you and we work out a plan. Now, again, you're responsible for that plan. I'm not going to force you to talk to me. So you got to be, you got to make the appointments and do things like that. I'm not going to chase you down. But sometimes it takes a couple years for people to get ready. An example is Rocco's Deli on Cass. They didn't win, but they were in our 2015 contest and they didn't open until 2020. So they just weren't quite ready. They didn't have the funding. They were a little scared. And then some changes happened in their lives. And then they were like, Victoria, we need help. Let's go. And I was there. So there's also that opportunity for you. The second favorite thing I have is the peer-to-peer programming. We are bringing back more robust alumni programming this year, where we're going to try to have you guys meet up at least quarterly like we used to do. A lot of it is going to be, we'll have a little bit of a component of learn like in it, but as you can see from this picture, a lot of it is just fun. And the reason for that is really owning a small business is a lot of hard work, and you need an outlet and you need friends and you need to have somebody who understands your business and you can commiserate with and talk to, and all of those things. And as much as, I'm there for that, sometimes you want somebody else. And I understand that. So this is just as a representation of everyone through well, not everybody, but everybody that came to this event from till 2021, which is exciting. Financial education, can help you do your business plans. all of those kind of things help you learn about your, cash flow and things like that. So you're prepared. We do different scenarios so that you can afford a loan before you take a loan and all those kind of things. And like we said, all the workshops and things that are available at Techtown are available to you as a Hatch alumni. These are just a couple of our winners. I don't know if you know any of them, but we have a good list. I'm not going to lie, but these are the winners. I usually try not to focus too much on that money and really focus on the fact that that other slide's really important. I don't want people, the top person for this contest is somebody that understands only 1 in 10 wins, but there's so much to have from just being in the top 10 besides the money. These are important contest dates, and I know that this is a lot of info and I'll promise to move it along, but I don't think we really need an hour and a half to go over the application. So I think we're at kind of schedule. But applications open from March 3rd to April 4th. The top 25 contestants are notified April 14th. The top 10 event is May 15th. That's when you'll be announced to the public and the voting will start the next day. And we do another section of time where the top 4, all of this is on our website, so you don't have to, look too much on it. We do have another section where the top 4 are introduced, and then those 4 people participate in a pitch competition at the Hatch Off, and our judges from that make a recommendation with the combination of the vote and how they did on their pitch, a recommendation for a winner. So the first set of votes are population, the vote only. The second, the winner is a combination of the votes, judge's decision, and, all of that. So the criteria, these are the things we're really looking for in a small business. Sense of community we went over, something that someone who really is a part of a community or wants to be a part of it. You don't have to be in that community already, but you have to have this sense of understanding what small business can mean to a neighborhood. That one's near and dear to my heart. I grew up in Southwest Detroit. My dad owned a small business in Carbon Works, and it was I loved every single part of we lived above it. It was the most amazing thing to have that one space where everyone came and knew you. And, we were tragically destroyed by infrastructure programming in that community. And it left an impression on me that carried on through grad school and everything and getting an urban planning degree. And that's why I work with small businesses. So there is that passion has to be there. We want somebody who's going to have like a catalytic impact in a community. One of our, some of the big ones are early year people. Sister Pie was the first business to go into West Village in years and years and years and years. And that alone, brought the attention of that community to the mayor's office and resulted in a lot more building of small business, actual locations for small business, and a lot more people were interested in the community. So that's kind of what we're looking for, something that is going to draw people in and maybe want them to stay. Viable businesses. So something that's not a trend, that's not of the moment, but something that has lasting appeal or the ability to, reinvent itself in an easy enough way that can add to it. Even Sister Pie doesn't just sell pie. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Not a one-hit wonder is another one that's not on here. If you have one thing that you sell, one trinket, that's not a retail component. That's not going to be successful for this contest. It might be good for a pop-up shop. It might be good for a small kiosk and something like that, but it wouldn't be what we're looking for to warrant a $100,000 prize. You can't currently have an open storefront. So some people have been in pop-up situations, as long as you have not had a permanent lease for your business, or if you have a lease that was less than 6 months as a pop-up, you can't have any lease. Okay. We want to be your first source of funding. The last thing I want to hear is that we funded somebody to put an air conditioning unit in their building. That's not enough of a reason for you to go through this entire contest. Because like I said, it's the package of goods you get. That's the important thing. The money does come. It will flow if your business is right for it. There are other places you can get your money from. The money is incredibly important, yes. But we can still work with you to get you there. So it's not, we want to be the first source so we can maximize you getting money from other places and work with you to maximize that, not the last source. And the last thing is we don't want any chains or second locations. We're interested in mom and pop, small business, real like Detroit things. Now we're going to go to the application. I just want to take a pause for a second. And then if you guys, I'm going to go through this and ask that you hold all your questions to the end. If that's okay. And Christina, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we did this last time, didn't we?
Yes.
Um,
So, one
Thank
thing
you.
that's new with our application, we added up pre-qualifying questions to the application. Just because, you know, some people didn't follow the guidelines that we clearly listed out, in the beginning of the application. So therefore they were disqualified, and we basically spent time looking at applications that wouldn't have been eligible anyway. So this was a way to help kind of, get those answered ahead of time and kind of let you know whether or not the idea that you're looking to pursue is eligible to be a part of the contest. So the first and foremost is like you read and agreed to the contest guidelines. So, you know, hopefully you do. You're truthful in that. You answer yes. That's a check. You're good. Are you looking to open a new retail brick and mortar location? That's exactly what Victoria talked about. Yes. All right. Second qualifying question you successfully passed.
Again, brick and mortar is a requirement. It can't be an afterthought.
And it's not like a food truck. I want to set up a food truck. It's not that I'm doing anything else. It's like literally you're looking to open up a storefront. Are you applying as a nonprofit? We had a few of these. No, this is only for businesses. If your nonprofit wants to have a social enterprise that you have a real retail component, you should apply as that social enterprise, not as the nonprofit, because you are going to be required to still form an LLC for this. And then the other question was, for the business idea you're applying for, have you been operating for more than 6 months or more already in that retail space? Back to what we mentioned, you know, we understand people are in slightly longer term pop-up situations, such as, you know, up to 6 months, but we realize like by the time you get over 6 months, you pretty much have like a good understanding of what's required and what you need to do. You can have a good foot, you know what is all goes into establishing your own brick and mortar. This is exactly what Victoria said. We're helping you along the way, not kind of just being that, you know, that box that you check like, oh, I got this and now I can move on. So
Yeah, we don't, and the other piece of that is, it shouldn't be in a situation where you can extend your lease with this money. That's not what it's meant for. It's again, supposed to be the grassroots money, the first money in, so that we can maximize you getting the money out.
however, we do have a caveat on here. And it says excluding ecosystem incubation programs such as Shop Detroit, which is a Tech Towns program, the Grand River Workplace, the shipping containers. Sorry, I apologize. My teams keep going off, y'all. And the Dexter pop-up, etc. So there are certain incubators and accelerators that are already working in partnership. Those are fine because you're getting coaching along the way. But if you're just like, you know, I'm in the mall, I popped up for like 8 months at the mall. Yeah, no, that's probably not a good look for you. Because we want to be able to make sure you're coachable. You understand what's going on. Your financials are about to be in order. So it's going to help accelerate you if you're participating in those programs. It's not required to participate in those programs by any means. That is just the loophole that we have to get around that 6 months or more. Just because there's a different criteria that is required for those businesses participating in those incubation programs.
And I should say with this, when she's saying shipping containers, she does not mean the long-term leases at the shipyard. Okay,
Correct.
it's a completely different program.
So we're gonna go through the application. Just give me a second to pull it up.
Well, I wanted to,
Huh?
do we want to do this first?
Which one?
Oh,
Each to a strong application?
Oh, that's at the end.
So apologies that I'm gonna try to boost this up so you can see. And these are not real answers in this application. This is literally me just opening this up so you can see. Okay. Oh yeah, this is me. I was like, all right, so of course you're gonna, yeah, Testy Malone. Yep, that's what I'm doing. So full name, put your name in, pretty much all the basics around that. If you worked with other business support organizations listed here or others, select that. If you select others, it's going to prompt you, of course, to fill out what others you have worked with. We just want to know if you worked with other support organizations. It's not going to make or break you in this application. We're just understanding where your, level is at in terms of if you've been through any business and entrepreneurial programs at the moment. But we've had many winners who have not. So it's just for our own understanding. If you're affiliated with Wayne State, this is just so we know from our own Wayne State connections, because Wayne State loves to know if people who are coming through our programs. So this is where it gets to the core of the application, business name required, type of business. These are kind of like the core ones we've seen on repeated applications. But of course, if you have something else that fits the criteria of a retail brick and mortar, you put other and let us know what type of business you're looking to open.
And then for the business name, have it be the actual name of the business. Don't have it be the name of your LLC.
Yes.
Because that is, I hate when I see that because it doesn't give us necessarily a taste of what it's all part of marketing your business. So just remember that.
And we know business names change too, but just don't.
That might be the feedback you get. I hope it's not.
Yeah. And also research your business name too. So like last year, there was an application that was literally a name of a grocery store that's not local, but it's somewhere else. And I'm like, why do you have that name? And and I was like, no, that's someone else's name. Like, how to differentiate yourself. So do some research. Describe your business. We do a nice prompt on here. I did not take what I wrote in here. This was just so I could pull up the application. But making sure you give us some details. And so the description we wrote in here is describe your business in detail, including its purpose, target market, what it makes it unique. Explain the problem your business solves, the products and services you offer, and how you plan to generate revenue. But we want you to be clear and concise. Like, we really want to know, like, what is your business? If you just say sell cupcakes, okay. Like, I mean, honestly, that will kind of push you over to the end. Like, I mean, if you literally only said sell cupcakes, nothing wrong with making cupcakes and having a fabulous bakery experience that's going to encourage and excite folks. But if you just say, I sell cupcakes, that is not telling us anything. That is not making us want to invest further in you because you have not spent the time to actually sell us on your idea. Because you're selling, the first of various judging panels on your idea based on this application. Because this application is going to carry you further, not just round one, but it's round two. And all the information you put in here is going to continue carrying you on through the subsequent rounds of this contest. Because we're pulling information from this application. So as much information you pull in here, the better chance you have to move on and on. Because you provided that level of detail that everyone is looking for in order to feel that your business idea can take you to the next level and you're going to be successful in it.
So just to take us back to the 80s, if anyone was alive then, it's more about like the elevator type speech of that. So really trying to very, very succinctly but accurately give us an insight on the business so that we are compelled to move forward and read more.
Let us know what products and services you're going to be selling. That is key. If you're, to Victoria's point too, if you're only selling one thing, that's not going to help us understand like how you're going to, some people are successful at it, but it's very, very hard and you're going to work even harder just because you always want a diversification of products and services that meet various needs.
And also it makes you ineligible for having one business. Like we're not looking for that, to have one, I mean, not one business, but one product. Like we said before, that's more of a maybe kiosk or shipping container or other type of thing. And we can help you find a place to go with that.
And we do say services, so I apologize. We're using, more tangible goods a lot during this example. But services are welcome too, but just know that the goal, if you have a service-based business, that people are going to be able to walk in and do business with you immediately, or, get something from your your business. So it's not like come in, make an appointment, you only come in these times, or we're not open at these times because we're closed, all these other days. So we want our service businesses just to be as accessible as more of those product or, tangible businesses as well.
So 2 winners of service to give you an idea were Metaphysica Spa and Sauna. And obviously anybody can make an appointment for a massage in sauna. Yes, you need an appointment, but you can still make it. Anybody can make it. There's no membership requirement to make it. You can do it. And then the other one, it was Live Cycle Delight. And that obviously anybody could take us, you could be a member, but you could also do a single one-off class, or you could whatever you wanted. So those were 2 of my favorite examples.
And then we're talking about the primary contacts title in the business. So you don't have to be the primary contact. You might be filling this application out for a relative or whatever. But if you are like that primary role in the business, let us know what you're doing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that primary contact is the one that's going to receive all of the emails and all of the information.
Correct.
So that's the important part of it. You may be the business primary contact, but this is the primary contact for the application and the process. So if your sister is the marketing director and you want her to be the one that is going to answer the emails and coordinate all that stuff, that's the name you put in here. Because if you hate doing email and you don't look, snooze, you lose. If we sent you information that you're moving forward and you don't respond, we're moving to the next person.
Let us know what their role in the business is. What is their job? So yeah, there has a title, but maybe they are the head baker / marketer / trainer, whatever it is. We just want to know what they're doing and then what experience they bring to this role. And if they have any at all. And then these questions start to get more and more important. I mean, all of them are very important, but this one is one of my favorites, is just because what is your why? Like, why do you want to do this? Why are you interested in applying? Why are you interested in having this business or taking your business to the next level by opening up a brick and mortar? Because as Victoria said, small business is hard. Like, you have to have something that's going to fuel you every day, keep that light on, keep that engine churning internally with you. And so if you don't have that why figured out, that is some like being entrepreneurs, like deep soul searching all the time, because times are tough, times are great, going through the construction process, a lot of times it's tough. I mean, there's always ups and downs as in anything that we do in life that we really have a huge goal for. And so we want to know why, what is going to keep you going. Yeah. The next is your target audience. So similar, like basics of doing business and starting a business, whether it's just an idea on a napkin, you still want to know who your customers are, and why you want to service those customers.
So funny aside, Catch Detroit's idea was written on a napkin. Just so you know, that's how they came up with it. They were sitting around and wrote it on a napkin, and yeah, so even that works.
But also, as we start to go through this, we're going to say, if you have a target audience of people making $500,000 and you pick Osborne District 3, those 2 populations don't correlate. Let's just be perfectly honest. You know what I mean? And so be realistic. If you're going to locate somewhere, is that target audience of millionaires going to drive into Osborne to do business with you from, wherever the millionaires are living? Maybe not, but just let's be put ideal, realistic expectations on where you're looking to locate, who that target audience is, how they're going to get to you, why they're going to want to shop with you. Yeah, people might make money, but everybody who makes money isn't always going to be your customer. You know what I mean? So we have to start to actually put realistic business plans together in your head. This doesn't have to be detailed, research around demographics, but there should be a little bit of a correlation about who you're trying to serve and why.
And then that also just, it gives us an idea. It also frames what your business is about. So where you want to go, like I mentioned, my father's business in Carbon Works, where you want to go often tells part of the story of your business. And that's kind of what we're looking at. But also the reason I had originally put that in there is also because it provides an opportunity for us to kind of move you to somewhere else if you're not right for here. If you come back to us for feedback, you know, if you're gonna be in District 1 and you wanna be in Grandmont Rosedale, the connection can be made to the Grandmont Rosedale Community Development Corporation for you and get you on the track to doing something somewhere else. So it gives us a little bit of help in a way to help you.
If you have a space identified, you're not required to have a space. Some people, and this question will probably come up, like if I own a building, what does that mean? You can use your own building as long as you have not been operating your business out of your building. But you're not required to have a building. You can say no, that is not going to be judged against you. But also understanding, why do you want to open a business in that location? A lot of people are saying, I grew up in this neighborhood. I went here. I have fond memories of this. This location used to have the ice cream shop. I want to reopen an ice cream shop here. All the list goes on, but it goes back to your why. And like, why are you choosing this as a location you want to operate within? Hours, just kind of ideal hours, just the idea, like you're starting to put your vision together for what your business looks like. If it makes sense, if you're only open 2 days a week, are you going to afford the rent or afford whatever utilities are in your business for those other 5 days that you're not open? All the things start to kind of go together.
And again, we talked about activating community. It's hard to activate community with 1 day a week. So, not that we don't understand, some businesses have to start out slow and then they build upon it. That's completely different than, starting out, I only want to work 1 day a week because I go up north for 6 days. You know what I mean? And that's what I want to do. That's totally different.
Yep. Just understand what steps you've taken. If it's only research, perfectly fine. If you had a dream and, somebody told you to do it, that's part of it, but hopefully you did some research after, you got the dream and someone telling you to do it. If ideas and I said here, if your business is in idea stage, just share what research you've done. Have you Googled something? Have you, seen other businesses or just walked in there or you had experience? Just let us know that you've taken some steps to say like, oh, this might be something I want to explore because this, and you could have done it in 2 days, a day. Like, let me just do some quick discovery. We're not asking you to do in depth. It's just getting a understanding of versus you just waking up one day like, I'm going to start a business and that's it. And you're going to apply to Hatch thinking you're going to win. Well, no, there's a little bit more vested in there to make your application more competitive. If it's an existing business, have you generated revenue?
And that's not, again, it's asking if you have an existing business, meaning
Pop-up.
have you been doing pop-ups? Have you been doing online sales of your things? Have you been
Just selling meals at your house?
Whatever it is. We have a lot of people that have gone through
Yeah.
the process that have had that situation, have a name going for themselves and everything, but they're not open in a store.
You're allowed to have more business owners in the business as long as, we define people who own more than 20%. So it's not like your mom giving you 5% just, to give some startup cash. These are actually vested owners in the business, and you're just gonna, you have more than yourself as an owner, you just click on it and then they're gonna have you write the information in this like nice little spreadsheet if there's anybody else in your business.
So on that note, and I think we took it out of the application maybe, there is going to be a time with that portion to move forward that you have to kind of show if you have a operator agreement with them, or not, because we have had people, believe it or not, that they win $100,000 and then all of a sudden they get in a fight over how they're going to spend that money. And then they argue about it. Then you don't know who you're supposed to talk to, who's supposed to get the business work, all of that. However, there's a fine balance there because you don't want to have an operating agreement that's so specifically written that you cannot get out of it after you open your business. So once you do this, there's maybe some questions around that there's going to be expectations if you move forward. So just be prepared.
We put a new question here. How many new full-time jobs do you anticipate? It's not required. Just, if you're brainstorming. And then going into your business goals of why you believe your business will succeed. How does it fit a unique niche within the customers of that community? So it could be a similar how you answered some previous questions, but we're continuing to like hone in on your customer engagement, your neighborhood engagement. This is a core part of this contest.
And that's also a good place. If you do have an existing business, you can say, well, I've been engaging with these businesses in this community for X number of years. I know that they want my product because I sell out every time at the farmer's market or whatever it is. It's an opportunity for you to sell yourself in a different way.
Similar, why do you engage and so how will you engage and support the community? And then, of course, we just want to see your vision, like where you see your business in 5 years. What is this big picture future vision? I know 5 years, I usually say 3 years now. Just leave it long term. What's your vision for your business? And then what is your plan for $100,000? So this is key just because we want to make sure it's not just the buying the HVAC system to open up because you have everything else built out. We want to know how this money is going to actually help make this dream come true. And we have examples like I need some architecture plans. I need to purchase equipment. I might need to get ingredients or supplies or fixtures, whatever it may be. And of course, a lot of that might cost more than 100,000, but hey, this is going to, make a significant investment in getting me closer to being open.
It also gives us research on like what small businesses are looking to fund. I use that question when I would write grants, because I could see what people needed. So it also helps you have a pulse on what you guys are facing out there. Because really a lot of you guys know better than we do, in what's available and not like what you're really looking for the heart of what you're doing.
Yep.
So that's a good way to tell us.
All right, this is a non-fun part, but you're starting businesses. And so it's something that's very important. And these numbers do not have to be locked in stone. This is just so we start to put together and understand kind of your rough business plan for your business, or idea. So understanding, what's the average cost of product or unit? What is the average sale of said product or unit? So if you are, let's keep using cupcakes for a moment. If your cupcakes cost $1 to make, and then you're selling them for $5, okay, we see the markup, what's the price differentiation. And also, hey, will you buy how many units you might have to sell a day in order to like keep your business open? We start to kind of put some of those things together. If you are only doing, one big cake a day, like that might not keep your lights on. That might not keep paying your rent the entire time. Or if you buy it, that might not be good enough for like your mortgage. So how are you supplementing that to keep it going from that point on? So that is just where we're starting to get an idea of what the expectation is. And if you have like a understanding of like, oh, I need to buy things for X price and then I have to sell it for another price.
And to that note on the budget, this is not like the budget for $100,000. This is the budget for your business. So it drives me crazy when I see the budget for $100,000 because it gives us no insight on what it takes for, like, if you've thought about at all what you're going to do for your business.
And
to that point, I've never seen one of these budgets be accurate. So
it's fine.
that's okay. So just know that. Because you're going to sit with me and we're going to make it accurate if you get to the top 10.
Correct.
So don't freak out about it, but also don't just make it to the $100,000.
Correct. And so we do have a budget spreadsheet further down that you fill out, and you can put in as many other costs and elements and pieces in here. If you need additional rows, that's fine. I think you can add some. I'll figure it out. So yeah, you can and blow this up as well. So it's easier for you to fill out and add additional pieces into this. So hard cost, construction, demolition, flooring, HVAC, security, waste removal, other equipment.
You're not
costs.
going out to get quotes.
No,
So just remember that.
this is just an estimate. Like, as she said, that it's not going to be.
Yeah. Like, I think I have a floor that needs to have work on it and it probably will cost me $10,000. That's what we're looking for. Not that, we're not asking you to submit 3 bids and your blood type.
So just kind of popping back up to, of course, you can, if you want to buy, you want to lease, you're unsure, that's, any of those are fine. You don't know how much space you're going to need, that's fine. Just, not always, there's sometimes people think the more space, the better. That's not always true. Most of the times it's never true. So just be, realistic of how much space that you may need to get started. What is the estimated cost of lease? You don't have to be perfect on this at all. Like you might not even know. You can maybe do a quick Zillow search or whatever it
I would
is,
recommend that.
just to see what a potential, the comps in the area are going for those storefront spaces, just to give you an idea. But just so you start to, put all those numbers together.
And I would recommend that because that's one way for us to see that you've done some research on your business. Because Christiane put a joke in there of $200. That if I see that, that makes me scared that you haven't you haven't really thought it through. We don't expect you to be 100% accurate, but we also want you to be somewhat with your eyes open on what it could be.
Because if you have a great idea and you realize their numbers are going to be a lot more than what they're going to be, then, it might take you some time to, get open, even though we're not in a rush to push anyone into a place that they're not ready for. But we don't want to be sticker shock. If you are, have an amazing idea that's able to move forward, that you're like, oh, I didn't expect this to cost 6 times more what I put in my application. And so that's really more what it's about. So we're not going to have that tough conversation with you. And then we ask, what investments have you made? It could be blood, sweat, and tears. It could be savings. We just want to know if there's any skin in the game that you've done. If you're just an idea, that's fine. You have no investments. It's just an idea. And that is a perfectly acceptable answer.
We've had winners that were just ideas.
Mhm.
Bavaria was just an idea. Baba
Fair.
was just an idea. Sister Pie was a little more than an idea, but she was not that far along. So, Live Cycle Delight was just an idea. There's a lot of them that made it through. And it's fine.
Exactly. And then and all the alumni on top of it.
Right.
So, JP Makes and Bakes was basically an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and he just opened up. And then this is just an opportunity for you to share anything else. If there's anything we missed, you need anything else you want to say about yourself, you can let us know about any support services that you would like to receive, regardless of whether you move on in the contest or not. Of course, allowing to sign up for emails. And then you have a place to put optional business information. I say optional multiple times. Like, this is purely optional. Like if you have a website, if you have an Instagram, if you have a YouTube, TikTok, any social media, if you have a logo pre-designed, if you have a business model or business plan, any creative things, like, it could be just a sketch that you took a picture of on your phone and then, add it to here. This is really just for you to continue to share. This is not going to, weigh against you in any way. Some people have just always thought about the ideas and what those look like. And so we're just giving you the space to share any of that information with you. And then
Back when we did samples, somebody gave me a diorama. I still have it.
diagram.
It's just because it's so ridiculous. And it was great. It was like, yeah. So, if you have a picture of a diorama, please upload it.
And so we just have basic demographic information so we can report that. Is because we're a nonprofit. All your information is not being shared with anyone. It's just for our own reporting purposes. But everything is confidential. Your ideas aren't shared. We're not, saying, "Ooh, guess what? This person wants to do this." We might be like, "Oh, we need to talk to that person more to help them bring this idea to reality." There's one thing I wanted to make sure.
Oh, the skin in the game piece. That's a huge one. Yes, the blood, sweat, and tears part, but you have to have an understanding for this contest that you will have to take a loan out. So if that's something that you don't want to do, it's not that we require you to do it, but I'll just be honest with you, it's harder and harder for you to open a business without doing it. There's just not the cost of opening has increased, and the resources are possibly dwindling. So it really is something that you have to at least have in your mind. Because the likelihood is that's going to happen. Are there exceptions to that rule? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Yes. But even some of the programs where you can get funding from them are requiring you to have that skin in the game. And, you know, I would hate for you to get far along and then be like, oh God, I don't want to do this because I don't want to take out, you know, a loan. That's part of the reason we do a background check on the top 10 moving forward, which I didn't go through.
We'll
I
talk
should
about it after.
talk about that later, but just because we want to make sure you're eligible, you know, for that if in fact you need it.
I think we have it in here.
I think so.
It's somewhere in the guidelines.
Can we go to,
Strong application? Okay.
so these are just some keys before we do question and answers. A well thought out application that's free of errors, that's huge. If you spell Detroit D-Riot, that's gonna bother me. I mean, you know, it just, let's not do that. Something unique and needed in the city. So, you know, it would be nice, it's hard to do a lot of unique things, but you have to be something just kind of different. So I know we use the thing with the cupcakes. If there's, you know, that's fine for the cupcakes, but we have to make them like what makes yours special.
Champagne and cupcakes. That's why
Champagne and
I'm
cupcakes. That kind of thing. It would show that you have community support or you have a sense of community. Again, you're not too far down the line in opening, because that's, you know, the mentoring and that work with you is the biggest key component of this. Yep.
Because we did have an application before, I can't remember, it was last year or 2 years ago, and the people literally just needed like $100,000 to finish off, and they were gonna be open anyway, and they are open anyway. And so we just didn't push them through because they were just like a gap funding, versus actually needing it to, you know, really go through the process, and it was pretty evident in their application.
Right. So, and we have one of those every single year. And usually like it's, you know, it's a few of the times when one of the reasons I started asking for the partners' names was because they would not put the rich partner on the application. And so then you'd be like, this is a great idea. It's so well done, blah, blah, blah. And then you find out that it's Robert Penske's best, you know, son or something, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, Comerica would kill us if we gave money to somebody who could get a traditional loan too. So that's just really important. Passionate about the business, labor of love. Christiane mentioned that one section about, you know, talking about your reason why. What is your why? This is your opportunity to really say, you know, this makes me think of home. This makes me think of my grandmother. I learned this traditional recipe from her. Anything like that. That you have a story to your why. So there is something there that is interesting, like that. Like you have, you know, Chuggas, for example. I love her story because she's been a woman who has baked with her grandmother for years and had a traditional recipe that her grandmother developed for monkey bread. And then her and her son took that over and then they're doing it together. And it's all about this family bonding piece that they've been able to kind of do and work together on. And it's a really nice story. The application understands the business and the market. So yes, we want to see that you understand your business. Yes, but also the market, a little bit, but it doesn't have to be like a full SWOT or business plan, not a SWOT analysis, not like crazy. But that's why I said an easy thing for you to do is do a Zillow search on the rents in the area, because that is a pretty easy thing to just put something in there and kind of have an idea of what it could cost. Let's see, what else we have there. These are the official rules and guidelines. They're on the website now. You can see that you must have everything submitted by 11:59 on April 4th. So that's hugely important. It does say that you'll be required to do a participant agreement before you move forward. We'll talk about that later. I mean, but just making it a knowledge that you would have to do that. You will, if you move forward, have to do a background check. The reason for that is mainly because, one, we have to make sure that you can get funding for what your business plan is. I've used this same stupid analogy for the last 15 years, but we're not looking for problems. I just said this in the other meeting, like, I don't care if your boyfriend sued you for Christmas tree lights. My boyfriend did once. It was very awkward. But, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to see if you like want to open a bar and have 6 DUIs. You can't get a liquor license. You can't open your bar. That's all we're looking for. A lot of our people, we had a housing crisis here in Detroit. There's a lot of things out there that are not beautiful, but just need to make sure that, that we can actually get you funded.
And also because you are going to be socially presented.
Yes.
Like from, you're going to be in press releases if you make it to the top 10, if you make it to the top 4, even more, you're pitching. We are in the age of information and everyone is an FBI agent on social media. And so if you don't want anything to get out and like someone call you to the carpet, that is why we also do background checks. We can kind of prevent any of that bias from happening. Yes, people have little things here and there. If I have someone like, the things can pull up your social media accounts too. We're not looking at it. We have a company that pulls the background check. We just want to make sure that like, oh, they are, making terrorist threats on their
Exactly.
Instagram. Like that might not be the best representation.
That wasn't the original reason we started doing it, but it seems as though that's starting to happen more often.
We haven't had with
Not with our applications, no. In life. We've never seen anything bad.
But just so you know, that is not just like, pulling, any criminal, like, DUI history or anything, like it does look at your social media. If there's anything that you don't want to come to light, we just have to make sure that you're going to be the best representation of a Hatch spokesperson, ambassador for the contest. Comerica's name's behind it, Techdown's name's behind it. And, we just want to continue to elevate you. And so if there's something that no one should know about except you, that's something that,
It is a very public contest. So other than that, I think we are kind of done with this oh no, we have the mood boards. Christiane has to talk about this.
Yeah,
'Cause
she-
I hate these things.
I love it. And so, so if you make it to the top 25, and that is our, on the timeline, everyone who's a part of top 25, previously was required to like bring in samples and, explanation of their business. We're trying to like make not that food businesses always got the leg up because it was something edible that everyone had an equal chance of, being selected to move on to the top 10. And so mood boards was a way. It looks like a poster board. I think it's like 48 by 36 or 24. I have the dimensions if you make it to that next round.
You'll be giving them in an email too.
Yeah,
So it's
everything.
just,
This is a heads up. And so if you were to make it to the next round, it wasn't going to be something like shock. That, you're just gonna, the mood board is just a way for you to showcase your business. Give someone a visual of what to expect. And people have done it so many different ways. Like there's not a rhyme, set visual look of what they look like. We might have some in the back, I might see, but they're still there. They might have been thrown away. But it's just a way for you to showcase what you are envisioning for your space and why you're doing it. And any way in your own creative form.
so. This is going into the process, but, this is, again, if you make it to the top 25, you are like determined by an internal Techtown team. That 25, basically, we have it in this room. The mood boards come and there's a group of 20, like about 45 judges, if not more, that come in. A lot of them are representatives of those communities in which you want to go into in the city. Funders, potential funders, Comerica people, Techtown, all the people that, are in that infrastructure to give us some background and feedback on your applications. From there, the background check goes on the 10 to 12 to 15 of them that might be moving forward. I think at the 25, we used to ask you to sign the paperwork is that still what you do? For the background check? Because then we just quickly give it to them and it's really easy. The top 10 are announced to the public and that means the voting will start. Top 4 is determined through votes. And then, we go down with the top 4 announced and then the hatch off is the final thing. And we are here for your questions, but they can also go to Hatch Detroit at techtowndetroit.org. And can I turn this off so we can ask some questions and
Let's stop recording.